Welcome back, guys. I'm back here with my MLB preseason power rankings. This time, I'm going to be ranking 20 through 11 teams, and I think you can put a lot of these teams in any which way. Let's just get into it here. Kansas City Royals, they're coming in at 20. Tough putting them here at 20. I mean, honestly, I don't really love it when it's all said and done, but the thing that gets me is just the pitching. I don't know if I can rely on it right now after what I saw last year. The ERA was great and the whip was middle of the pack, but giving up a lot of home runs, walks, strikeouts. I mean, not striking out enough. I'm sorry. Um, I don't know. The pitching, it could be there, but I just kind of need to see more for this team to really do better. And obviously, same for the offensive side of the ball. Besides Bobby Witt Jr., this team kind of struggled last year. I know Vinny is projected to have a good year. Same with Salvi. Salvi obviously had a great year as well. It was Salvi, Witt, and Garcia, and after that, it was kind of question mark, question mark, question mark everywhere. Hopefully, Caglione can make a big difference. And I think what it's going to come down to is the outfield play because it is going to be Caglione, Isaac Collins, and Kyle Isbell are your projected starting outfielders right now. And that's kind of a concern. I can see that being a concern. Even after letting Yastrzemski and Grichuk go, they didn't really do much to replace a whole lot. I think Isaac Collins could be a interesting piece when it's all said and done at the end of the year, but right now there are a few questions. This offseason, they tried to address the catching position in Jorge Alfaro, Luke Maile, and Elias Diaz, all-star in 2024. Um, I don't know. I just someone's got to catch behind Salvi, and I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know if they've made the cuts yet, but it's going to be one of those three. And then, like I said, addressing the outfield play, Starling Marte, they brought in the veteran there. I'm sure he'll be coming off the bench here, playing here and there, but I don't really love the additions that the Royals brought in this year. I know their farm system's pretty good, but I don't know. I'm just kind of not in on them. And for those reasons, I'm actually still going to be over. I know it's kind of crazy. I just talked down on them, but I do see some big jumps this year for Jack Caglione. I think Salvi puts up another solid year. Vinny P, he's going to take his World Baseball Classic success over to the major leagues and I think just probably hit 30 home runs. Bobby Witt is obviously a superstar. If Aaron Judge wasn't a thing in the American League, I think everyone would be talking about Bobby Witt. Then Maikel Garcia, one of the most underrated players in the American League for what he does for this team, steals a ton of bases, gets on base a ton. And you got to love that from your leadoff guy. So I think if those top four guys have years like they did last year, and the bottom half of this order can really figure it out, and I'm not even saying hitting crazy, if they can all hit 250, I think this Royals team can definitely get the over on this one. 19, it's going to be the other team in the AL Central. It's going to be the Cleveland Guardians. This team, awful at the plate last year, average wise, on base percentage, OPS, but they don't care because this team loves to play some small ball, get the singles, and do what they have to do to win games. And how did they do that? Well, that pitching staff last year, giving up the tied for fourth with 3.7 ERA last year, which was exceptional in the MLB last year. And then everything else was kind of middle of the pack. But, if you don't let guys score, then you're going to win games, even if it's an ugly 2-1, which a lot of these games did happen last year. The guards ball, as we like to call it. Additions. I think they brought in Reese Hoskins, which I think is going to be a great addition off the bench. Cutter Keyboom just signed him, so who knows from where that goes. And then everything else is just relief pitchers. So they're running it back pretty much with the same team, and why not? Because this team is consistently good, consistently 85 plus wins. I think it's been like 7 years, maybe the 2020, obviously the 2020 year, but since the 2020 year, I don't think this team has been under 85 wins. And this Guardians team has been really good. And you can thank Jose Ramirez right there in the three spot for putting up Hall of Fame numbers every single year for this Guardians team. And he will hopefully retire as a Guardian and go into the Hall of Fame as a Guardian because this guy has just been the most underappreciated MLB player the last 10 years. What he's done for this franchise and what he does day in and day out. Jose Ramirez gets all the love from me. This man deserves it. And then other guys that don't get enough love is going to be Stephen Kwan for what he does defensively. It's a huge part to his game. That's why he's very good. And also, obviously, leading off, hitting lots of singles. I mean, last year, look at what they're projecting him right now. 59 strikeouts and 59 walks. When you can have 1-to-1 ratio, that is really good. But the only concerns here for me for this Guardians team, yet again, is going to be the bottom of the order. Bo Naylor, is he going to finally break out? Chase DeLauter's projected to be starting outfielder here. If he does make the team, that would be huge. I know, obviously, last year in the playoffs, he got some time playing in I think it was wild card round against the Tigers. And Rocchio, great defensively, but the bat needs to wake up if they kind of want to see more out of him. But the pitching staff, going with six projected starters right now. Parker Masick, I think he's going to be very good this year, a sleeper pitcher. Then after that, all the names there. Um, or reliables, as I like to call them for the Guardians. They have guys that just come out, eat up innings, and do what they have to do, get through five, potentially six, and set their team up for success. And because of that, I am going with the over-under of 79.5 wins, which I think is outrageous for this team. Last year they won 88 games, and I think they have a better team on paper this year than they did last year. And give me that over all day. And then I have the Arizona Diamondbacks at 18. Over-under win total is 79.5, just like the Guardians. Last year they finished 80 and 82, missing out on the playoffs. They didn't really lose a lot. They got rid of Blaze Alexander, traded Jake McCarthy to Colorado, and then lost two relief pitchers there. What did they do in the meantime? Well, obviously last year's deadline, they got rid of a lot of guys as well. They brought back Merrill Kelly, who they traded at the deadline from Texas, re-signed him. Carlos Santana, he's here. Nolan Arenado, he's here. And then I guess you could say Zach Gallen is back as well after re-signing him and re-signing Paul Sewald. So they're kind of running it back here with a few guys that they had in previous years to hopefully get this team afloat again and running in the right direction. We saw last year hitting was not a problem. It was the pitching staff. And that's going to be the question mark yet again for this team. Behind Zach Gallen, is it Erod going to be the guy that you paid him to be? Uh, Fat, I know he's been all reliable for the Diamondbacks and eating up innings. And Soroka and Ryan Nelson, those two guys, I think are going to be the key pieces here for this Diamondbacks rotations. Obviously, Merrill Kelly is going to slot in there as well. But right now, I'm just not concerned. This bullpen could be okay. Sewald, kind of the leading favorite to be the closer, but didn't even pitch at all last year in Detroit. So, he's had a lot of rest. But we talk about this lineup, Corbin Carroll with the handmate bone injury, it's kind of no more at this point. Perdomo, Marte, it's a great starting three. And then Arenado and Santana hitting sixth and seventh. I mean, if this would have been 5 years ago, you would have thought, oh my gosh, this lineup is legit. But unfortunately, those guys have aged out. Still going to be, I think, good pieces for this team. Santana loves to get on base. He's pretty good at getting on base, even with a low average. But Moreno, Pavin Smith, and Alec Thomas are the guys I'm looking at here because I think those three guys, if they can have above average seasons, I think this Diamondbacks team can possibly be contending for an NL wildcard spot, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think on paper, I think more people are going under on this team, and I'm going to kind of join them. I love Ketel Marte and their young talent they have here, but I just don't think the depth on this team is enough for this team to get that 80 and 82 or better like they did last year. Even with trading away a lot of guys last year on this team, I could kind of see the same thing. Maybe with Arenado and Santana at the deadline, this team kind of selling, getting rid of a few guys, and getting prospects for the future. 17, I have the San Francisco Giants. Big noise for the Giants, obviously, as they hire first-time manager Tony Vieto from Tennessee Volunteers. No one's ever actually made the jump from college to MLB right away. He's going to be the first manager to do so. And I love the hire here by Buster Posey with what his control is. I think he can come in and really establish a culture that Posey wants, old school culture, and really figure it out. And I think this is the team that can do it, especially. I mean, I love the pitching staff on this team. Adding Adrian Hauser and Tyler Mahle, I think it's how you say his name, behind Logan Webb and Robbie Ray. I think that's going to be exceptional there. Landon Raup. I can't never. I'm awful at pronouncing these guys' names. I know who they are. I just awful at their names. Just sidebar. Um, Pitching staff's going to be excellent yet again. Last year it wasn't really pretty behind Logan Webb, but I think this year they can all have some decent years. Then who did they add? Well, they brought in backup catcher Eric Haas for Patrick Bailey. Luis Ariz, I think, is a great addition to this team to get on base for Devers, Adames, Chapman. Brought in Harrison Bader. I love that addition. Have him go play center out here. Make some great plays in the field. Um, Will Brennan, I think, is another interesting name that I think can, be a platoon and play decently. And like I said, like I mentioned, they brought in a few ex-Tigers and Foley and Michael Fulmer to bolster the bullpen. It is a tough, crowded NL West. Like I said, I went with the under on the Diamondbacks, but I'm going with the over on the Giants. I don't know how much over it's going to be. It could be 82 and 80 over here, and you sweat it out for the last week. But I do buy stock in the Giants this year in the over. I just think, I don't know, the Giants, kind of been floating around mediocrity for the last few years, and I think they're due for a big year here. And I would not be surprised at this deadline if they kind of move some pieces around and go for it, at least for a wild card spot. 16, it's going to be the Cincinnati Reds. This team last year made the playoffs. The wild card got swept by the Dodgers, but who didn't lose to the Dodgers in the playoffs? That's right. Nobody the last 2 years. And this team kind of retooled in a lot of different ways. Got rid of Gavin Lux and Miguel Andujar, let Austin Hayes go, Zach Little, Nick Martinez, Wade Miley, Brent Suter, Scott Barlow. All names that if you watch baseball consistently, you probably have heard of. But who did they add? Nathaniel Lau and Michael Toglia, which I love that for both these teams, but that's not going to be the case for the projected starting first baseman. It's going to be Sal Stewart. Brought in Eugenio Suarez back for his second stint with the Reds on a 1-year deal. Love it. I think he's going to hit close to 40 home runs this year, being in Cincinnati in a hitter's ballpark. And Garrett Hampson, Michael Chavis. Love the JJ Bleday addition here. I think he can have a really good bounce back year, change of scenery yet again uh, from the A's. And then Dane Myers from Miami coming off the bench more than likely. I think that can be a good addition. But this bullpen here, I mean, you can't even see all the names here on the list because I kept going down the list and just couldn't fit them all. But they really bolstered this bullpen. They had to after, it was kind of a struggle for this Reds team last year. And obviously another struggle is Hunter Green yet again having another injury. I think he'll be out till June, maybe July. So it's going to be on the shoulders of the two lefties, Abbott and Lodolo. Brady Singer obviously is another great addition there. And Chase Burns, is this going to be the year he breaks out and really establishes himself in the MLB? If that is the case, then I don't think they're going to rush Hunter Green back because if Burns can pitch well and deep into games, this Reds team can definitely get that over on the 81 and a half, and that's why I'm going there. I am kind of banking on this rotation to step up a little bit in Hunter Green's absence. I think the lineup can do a lot of damage if they are projecting Sal Stewart right now. He's actually projected to be in the 4 spot, hitting cleanup. And if that's the case, I mean, they're probably thinking he can hit 20, 25 home runs this year with this lineup. The Reds could be a sneaky team here, not only to get in the wild card yet again, but possibly to win the NL Central. Then at 15, I have the Texas Rangers, a down year in almost all categories last year. For the Texas Rangers, pitching was the worst. They're first in ERA. It's reversed actually. So they had the worst ERA in all of baseball last year. And what did they do to address that? Well, they brought in Mackenzie Gore from Washington. Love the fit here in Texas. Cal Quantrill, great bringing him in. And Austin Gomber, glad they brought him in too. Um, you got two older guys in Navaldi and DeGrom ahead of those guys. And Jack Leiter hopefully can have a good bounce back year. The bullpen obviously needed some help as well. Brought in a lot of names there. I mean, obviously they had to do these moves. Why? Because, well, they lost Merrill Kelly, Tyler Mahle, John Gray, Patrick Corbin retired, Hoby Milner, and Phil Maton left for Chicago. So a lot of pitching newness and new faces in this bullpen and the rotation, which could be a good thing for the Rangers. And then who they lose on the offensive side of the ball? Let Heim walk, Rowdy Tellez walk. Marcus Simeon was traded to the Mets for Brandon Nimmo and Donovan Solano, who I think retired as well, or still a free agent. And like I mentioned, they brought in Nimmo and Andrew McCutchen for both bench piece for McCutchen and Nimmo to be starting. And Canna, I think, could be another interesting piece off the bench there. Danny Jansen is projected to be the starting catcher, and I think he's going to win the job for the Texas Rangers. And we know what Wyatt Langford could do, but he has to do it this year. I can't remember. Did they? Was it them that sent? Did they send him down? I can't remember. I can't remember. I made these graphs were a week old, so the lineup. So I'm sure it's changed a little bit here, but if he can figure it out, I'm sure that the Rangers are going to love that. Seager, Berger, Peterson. I mean, that's your 3, 4, 5. I don't love it, but I'm still going with the over here. I think they get 84 wins in the AL West. Um, I don't know. I just think if they were that bad last year, going 81 and 81, it's hard for me to imagine that they can't find three more wins somewhere else. And for that reason, I'm going with the over. Same thing with the Baltimore Orioles. I think they can easily find 11 wins to hit that over, so I'll show that up already, and I'll talk about why I'm in on the Orioles this year. Who'd they lose? A backup catcher in Gary Sanchez, Dylan Carlson, backup outfielder, Jorge Mateo, one of those guys that kind of just slotted in when guys needed rest. Grayson Rodriguez, I'm glad they finally got out of that. And the injury concerns traded him to the Angels, and Sugano let him walk in free agency. So what they do in the meantime? Well, I love this offseason. It might be one of the best off seasons of the year. Brought in Pete Alonso in a free agent signing. Taylor Ward, like I mentioned, was traded here in the Grayson Rodriguez deal, 1 for 1. Love bringing him in. Shane Baz, a great spot landing spot for him from Tampa. Change of scenery is definitely going to fit him nice. Chris Bassett, love the signing there for that rotation. Then the bullpen, just a few names there just to kind of eat up innings. But Trevor Rogers, if he can have a good season, I think that, this Orioles team is going to be legit. Bradish, Bassett, Boz, Eflin is a name to throw out. Eflin could be really good again. And Dean Kramer as well. They're going with a six-man rotation to start the year. And I'm in on the Orioles. I think that their last year's season was kind of a fluke. The injuries, a lot of guys played down. I expect a big bounce back season from Adley this year. Samuel Basallo. The young prospect, catching prospect, can take the load off of Adley so he doesn't have to catch all the time. And they brought in Blaze Alexander as well. He's projected to be the starting second baseman right now. And he could be an interesting piece at the bottom of that order there. But relying on the young guys yet again in this lineup, and I believe that they can do so to get that 86 or more wins. 13 is going to be the Atlanta Braves. And the Atlanta Braves projected 88.5 wins this year, which, is 12.5 more than they got last year. Injury bug hit this team hard last year and disappointment as well. Ronald Acuna didn't have the best of years, along with Olson and Riley. Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris had some brutal years last year. And I think they are definitely a bounce back team this year. Didn't really lose big pieces on the subtraction side besides Ozuna. Who did they bring in? Not really pretty pieces, but guys that are going to help you get through the season, with Yastrzemski, I think, being one of those, which I think he could replicate Ozuna, not the power numbers, but on base and hitting people in. And for those reasons, Spencer Strider's already going on the IL to start the season. Already have injury concerns in the rotation that is on the older side for the rotation. For those reasons, I'm going with the under here. 88.5 wins for the Braves, who the hitting was there last year. You can see middle of the pack, but the pitching outside of Chris Sale, it just wasn't there. And I kind of see that being the same this year. I do think they can get to 500 this year, going 81 and 81, but winning 89 games, you're kind of banking on them to be in contention to win the division going into the last week of the season. And that's not where I see this Braves team. At 12, I have the Chicago Cubs coming off a great year last year, winning 92 games. And unfortunately, when you win that much, a lot of guys are going to leave and want more money. And that's kind of what happened here. Losing Carlos Santana, Willie Castro, Kyle Tucker, that was the big gamble there. He did leave. Savell left, Soraka left, Brad Keller, Taylor Rogers, Drew Pomeranz, Owen Casey traded, and Andrew Kitteridge traded. Big names that you've all heard of, but who did they bring in? Other names you've heard of. Christian Bethancourt, Alex Bregman being the big name, lost out on Tucker, so they brought in Bregman. Chas McCormick could be a nice piece off the bench. Edward Cabrera for Owen Casey, which I love the trade there for Edward Cabrera. Give him a new opportunity here in Chicago. Then they definitely bolstered the bullpen a ton, bringing in Phil Maton, Caleb Thielbar, once again, bad with names. Hobie Milner, Hunter Harvey, and Shelby Miller. Don't know how I don't know. Shelby Miller feels like he's been in the league for 15 years, but he's probably like 30. He's pitching great yet again. So this Cubs team, I think they can run it back, honestly. If Seiya can have another good year, Pete Crow Armstrong can be more consistent at the plate. Ian Happ does what he does. Bregman gets on base like he always does. Michael Bush always up there. And when you're 6, 7, 8 hitters or Nico Horner, Dansby, who could always break out, and Moises Ballesteros, big projected year for him. I think this Cubs team can hit their way to the playoffs. And Carson Kelly, I mean, he got off to an insane start last year, then kind of fizzled out towards the end. But him out of your 9 spot, I mean, you got to take it at that point. So for those reasons, I'm going with the over here for the Chicago Cubs. It's pretty much, I think, a three-horse race for the division between them, the Brewers, and of course the Cincinnati Reds, who I am one of my sleeper teams this year. And at 11, I have the Milwaukee Brewers winning 97 games last year. And I mean, I'm just going to throw it up there over, of course. This team hasn't been under 85 wins since 2016. So what are we doing here? I mean, this might be the one thing to lock up this year. The lock of the year could be the Milwaukee Brewers in the over. This team got younger. They traded away some young guys to get some new guys. They, including Caleb Durbin, who Rookie of the Year votes, got shipped him to Boston. Isaac Collins shipped him to Kansas City. Freddie Peralta, Tobias Myers didn't want to pay him, so they shipped him to the Mets. Got let Montgomery walk, Quintana walk, Shelby Milner walk, Reese Hoskins walk, Danny Jansen walk. And who did they bring in? Well, they brought in Gary Sanchez. He's going to be the backup catcher for Contreras. David Hamilton off the bench. Utility guy, can play almost anywhere. Jet Williams in the minor leagues. Wouldn't be surprised if we see him at some point this year. Q Baddoo off the bench. And here's the guys they brought in from trades. They brought in Brandon Sproat from the Mets, also in that Jet Williams, Freddie Peralta, Tobias Myers deal. Sproat is projected to be the number 3 right now with some injuries in this rotation to Kyle Harrison and Brandon Woodruff. And Kyle Harrison, if he can get healthy quick, I think he's going to be a good addition for this team, being the lefty starting pitcher in this rotation. And Angel Zerpa from Kansas City coming over, a reliever for reliever trade. Brewers know what they do every year, homegrown talent, and the lineup, it doesn't look like the best names, but they're going to produce and they get the most out of every single guy. And I expect a huge year from Jackson Chourio. I think this is the year where he takes the big leap and possibly get some MVP caliber votes at the end of the year. And with that being said, that's why they are going with the over here, and they are 11, almost cracking my top 10. That's going to be it for my 20 through 11 teams for my preseason power rankings. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the MLB content here throughout the next few months of the season and, of course, for the rest of the year. But until next time, the Bench Buddies are out.